80s actively sought fissionable materials in Africa, but he hasn't done anything like that in the past 12 years. His statement would act like he did it yesterday, taking bits of intelligence out of context, without the qualifiers, without the rest of the story, and placing it as a bullet and presenting it as if it's a factoid.
There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction.
And this was given to us, action officers, to use in papers that we would prepare for our higher-ups, to include guys like Wolfowitz and Rumsfeld.
The United States knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. The UK knows that they have weapons of mass destruction. Any country on the face of the earth with an active intelligence program knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
These guys were manipulating public opinion, okay, creating falsehoods and fantasies to inspire fear in the American people so that they could have their war.
The President of the United States.
If war is forced upon us, we will fight with the full force and might of the United States military, and we will prevail.
Evidence from intelligence sources, secret communications, and statements by people now in custody reveal that Saddam Hussein aids and protects terrorists, including members of Al-Qaeda.
I remembered when I was in Vietnam, we used to get requests, can you put my father, my son's name on the side of the helicopter? Can you put it on a rocket? I said, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to do that. So I sent out emails to the Secretary of all the Armed Forces. I'm a retired New York City Police Department sergeant and a proud Vietnam veteran. I lost my son on 9/11. I can't tell you in words what his loss means to me. I would respectfully request if you could put his name on some piece of armament in the Iraq war. You know, we haven't caught bin Laden, but, you know, let's do something here. Who was responsible? Come on, let's hit him. Iraq was responsible. Good, let's go. You say Iraq? Let's go. Let's get in there. Let's kick the hell out of them.
It turns out it's not that hard to get a country to go to war. That even in a country like the United States, where there is freedom of information and multiple media channels, that an administration can just dominate the debate, dominate the argument.
We have this idea that we have lots of information available. There's so much that's not available, and so much of the truth, quote unquote, is obscured by political actors who don't want the world to see what they're doing.
Needless to say, the president is correct.
What's going on, I'm sorry to say, is a belief that the public doesn't need to know.
Your policy is?
I'm working my way over to figuring out how I won't answer that.
Limiting access, limiting information to cover the backsides of those who are in charge of the war is extremely dangerous and cannot and should be accepted. Now, I'm sorry to say that up to and including the moment of this interview, that overwhelmingly it has been accepted.
The Pentagon, for many years now, since Vietnam, has worked extremely hard at shaping news and how the media reports that news. We train people to say certain things in a certain way.
Our defeat and humiliation in South Vietnam.
What they learned from Vietnam, above all, was that they lost the war because they couldn't keep it private from the American public.
After the Vietnam War, the Pentagon began studying how can we make sure there are no more body bags in American living rooms. And we must find a way to no longer allow reporters in the field to actually see death.
You get to the Iraq War when they discover this new typical bit of Pentagon jargon called embedding.
Gunfire coming from the tops of the building.
We've gotten to know these Marines very well. We do live with them, we eat with them, we travel with them. But I have, I think, remained objective.
The embedded coverage had flags and banners, but no one was actually finding out the truth about the reasons, the rationales for going in.
I have great respect for the media. I mean, our society is a good solid democracy because of a good, solid media. But I also understand that a lot of times there's opinions mixed in with news.
We won't disagree with that, sir.
Let's just really be honest. Reporters and news organizations need access to power. They need the president, they need the defense secretary, they need these people to speak, to be on camera, to do interviews.
What you have is a miniature version of what you have in totalitarian states. If they produce films about how great the great leader is and how he's getting greater in every way, every day.
There will be a day of reckoning for the Iraqi regime, and that day is drawing near.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Chorale.
Another day is dawning in America. From coast to coast, our spirit shines right through.
Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq within 48 hours. Their refusal to do so will result in military conflict, commenced at a time of our choosing.
So don't stop believing in what we stand for. What we stand for. Oh, don't stop believing in America. Here's to America. We truly are the land of the free. Let freedom ring. Here's to America. Our spirit will be free. It will be free. It's in the hearts of people everywhere. The true American dream. Here's to America. Oh, here's to America. Here's to America. Land of the free.
I've only got 9 days left, and I'd rather spend as much time with my friends as possible. Get all my stuff in storage, because there's still a few items I gotta put in storage. Except for this TV, a couple weights there, and this right here. This hammer and this Snoopy soap thing I've had since before I can remember. That's just stuff I want to put in storage because of its sentimental value. I never really had that many feelings toward the place, except for the fact that my mom lived in it for a while. But my mom ain't here anymore, so all the feelings I had associated with that place went away along with my mom. There was a point where I almost blamed myself for my mom's passing. I'm handing over the keys.